Malik had always known that life was not always fair. In the small town of Crestwood, where everyone seemed to know one another, his arrival at Crestwood High would soon become the talk of the school. His tall, athletic build and calm demeanor gave him an air of quiet strength. Yet his gentle eyes and soft-spoken voice betrayed little of the inner fire that had been kindled by years of hardship and perseverance. It was a crisp autumn morning when Malik first stepped onto the campus. The air was cool, and the trees blazed with shades of orange and red. As he walked through the wrought-iron gates of the high school, he felt a mixture of anticipation and trepidation. His family had moved to Crestwood for a fresh start after enduring difficult times in the city. His mother had promised that this new school would offer him opportunities to flourish, yet Malik understood that change rarely came without challenges. Within the bustling hallways of Crestwood High, Malik chose to remain reserved. He selected a quiet seat at the back of his classes and rarely joined in casual chatter with his peers. His quiet nature was not a sign of weakness, but a learned habit born of careful observation. This very reticence, however, soon caught the attention of a group of students who thrived on the power of making others feel small. At the head of this group was Connor, a tall and athletic student known for his arrogance and domineering presence. For years, Connor had ruled his clique, a band of popular kids who took pleasure in enforcing their own standards on anyone who did not conform to their expectations. Alongside him were Evan, a lanky boy with a perpetual sneer, Mason, a burly teenager whose temper matched his imposing physique, and Tyler, a wiry and quick-tempered individual always eager to join any act of mischief. On Malik's very first day in the cafeteria, while he sat alone at an empty table, the bullies made their intentions clear. Connor strode over with his cronies, his eyes scanning the room until they landed on Malik. In a voice heavy with condescension, Connor remarked, "Hey, new kid, you think you belong here? I don't see someone like you fitting in with us." His tone carried a subtle undercurrent of disdain that hinted at prejudice. The others laughed softly, and Malik could feel their scrutinizing eyes weighing on him like an unwanted spotlight. Without a word, Malik continued his lunch, determined not to give them the satisfaction of a reaction. Yet the bullies were not easily discouraged. Over the coming days, they sought him out repeatedly. In the crowded hallways, they would bump into him, sending his books clattering to the floor. In quiet corridors, snide remarks and hurtful comments were whispered about him. The laughter and jeers followed him from class to class, and though the pain was deep, Malik bore it with a dignity that few could understand. Days turned into weeks, and the daily torment became part of Malik's routine. The relentless verbal attacks and occasional physical jostling wore at him, but outwardly he remained as composed as ever. Beneath his calm exterior, however, Malik harbored a secret that no one at Crestwood High suspected. For years, he had been trained in martial arts by his father, a former champion whose reputation had once spread far beyond the city. Malik had inherited not only his father's fighting prowess, but also his steadfast belief that strength must be used only to defend what is right. Despite this inner strength, Malik longed to avoid conflict. He believed deeply that every person deserved respect and that violence should always remain a last resort. Yet, as the bullying escalated, the prospect of remaining silent grew increasingly unbearable. One cold winter afternoon, as Malik left school with the late afternoon sun hanging low in a pale sky, he found himself alone on a quiet side of the building. Soft snowflakes had begun to fall, blanketing the ground in a silent, white shroud. Malik walked slowly, his breath misting in the chill air, when he heard footsteps echo behind him. He turned to see Connor, Mason, Tyler, and Evan forming a semicircle with faces twisted in anticipation and malice. Connor stepped forward and said, "We have had enough of you ignoring us. It is time you learned your lesson." His voice, both mocking and threatening, resonated in the cold air. The bullies closed in, their movements coordinated as if they had rehearsed this moment time and again. Malik's heart quickened, but he maintained his calm. He had known this confrontation was coming, and he was prepared. Tyler lunged with a forceful shove, while Mason swung his fist in a crude attempt at violence. Malik dodged the first blow with a swift, graceful movement that belied his unassuming appearance. In that critical moment, the quiet strength he had cultivated exploded forth. Every movement was measured and precise as he parried each clumsy attack with the discipline of a seasoned martial artist. The bullies were taken aback by Malik's sudden display of skill. Connor tried to land a punch, but Malik sidestepped and countered with a calculated strike that left Evan clutching his arm in pain. Evan cried out, and for a heartbeat the bullies hesitated. Their confidence, once unshakable, began to waver. In a burst of misplaced arrogance, Mason charged again, only to be met with Malik's unwavering defense. Within seconds, Malik had turned the tables completely. A small crowd of students gathered near the school entrance. They gasped in unison as they witnessed Malik fend off his attackers. His movements were fluid and controlled, a stark contrast to the clumsy, aggressive motions of Connor and his gang. With each precise strike, Malik sent a clear message. He was not to be underestimated. The bullies, now reeling and confused, began to falter as Malik's quiet determination overwhelmed them. When the struggle finally ended, Malik stood alone, calm and resolute. His eyes shone with a quiet intensity as he looked at the bullies sprawled on the snow-covered ground, defeated and humiliated. The gathered students stared in stunned silence. No one had expected the new kid, so quiet and unassuming, to be capable of such skill. Yet here he was, a living testament to resilience and inner strength. In the days that followed, the story of the confrontation spread like wildfire through the halls of Crestwood High. Whispers turned into bold discussions, and soon the entire school was abuzz with talk of the young man who had stood up to the bullies and changed the course of events with a single, decisive act. Teachers and administrators took notice as well, and the principal convened an assembly to address the rampant bullying that had plagued the school. After class one day, Ms. Parker, one of Malik's most compassionate teachers, approached him with genuine concern. Her eyes were kind as she said, "Malik, I have heard what happened. I want you to know that we take this very seriously at Crestwood High. I hope you're doing all right." Malik offered a small nod, his voice soft as he replied, "I am all right, Ms. Parker. I only did what I had to do." Even as he spoke, he could sense the silent support of his teachers and classmates, a small but significant shift in the school's atmosphere. The bullies, once so confident in their ability to rule the halls, retreated into the shadows. Connor, whose pride had taken a massive blow, found himself increasingly isolated. His cronies, Evan, Mason, and Tyler, faced their own share of ridicule and ostracism. Slowly, even those who had once admired Connor began to distance themselves from his behavior. The incident had ignited a conversation about respect and fairness that began to reverberate throughout the school. In the days that followed, Malik continued to attend classes with the same quiet resolve he had always shown. But the incident had changed Crestwood High in ways that were soon to become evident. The oppressive atmosphere that had once allowed bullying to flourish was gradually replaced by a renewed sense of empathy and unity. Some students who had previously been mere bystanders found the courage to speak out against injustice. Support groups formed, and teachers began incorporating lessons about kindness and acceptance into their daily curricula. One afternoon in the library, while Malik was quietly absorbed in a book on martial arts philosophy, a gentle voice interrupted his thoughts. "Malik," said Jordan, a kind and thoughtful classmate known for his sincere nature, "I have admired the way you handled everything. You have shown us that silence does not mean weakness. I want you to know that you inspire many of us to stand up for ourselves." Malik looked up and returned a warm smile. "Thank you, Jordan. I only did what was necessary to protect myself. I believe everyone deserves respect, and sometimes it means showing others that you are not afraid to defend your dignity." As weeks turned into months, the impact of that fateful confrontation began to ripple through Crestwood High. The school administration took definitive steps to ensure that every student was treated with respect. New workshops on conflict resolution were introduced, and experts were invited to speak about the importance of empathy. Slowly, the bullies who had once roamed the hallways with impunity found themselves increasingly marginalized. Connor, in particular, struggled with the consequences of his actions. Late one evening, in the deserted gymnasium, he sat alone reflecting on the day he had underestimated Malik. His mind was filled with regret and confusion as he realized that the power he had once wielded was now meaningless. In that moment, Connor resolved to change, even if it meant facing the painful truth of his own shortcomings. Meanwhile, Malik continued to grow both academically and personally. He devoted himself to his studies, excelling in subjects that challenged his mind. His teachers recognized his potential and encouraged him to join extracurricular activities. Malik found solace in the school's martial arts club, not to display his fighting prowess, but to refine the discipline and humility that had been instilled in him by his father. His father had always said that a true warrior fought for justice rather than for revenge. Those words echoed in Malik's heart, guiding him through every challenge he encountered. One particularly memorable afternoon, Crestwood High organized a charity event to support a local shelter. Students volunteered to set up booths, perform skits, and collect donations. Malik worked tirelessly at his booth, explaining to passers-by the importance of community support and the need for kindness in everyday life. As he spoke, he saw smiles bloom on the faces of his peers, and he realized that even small acts of kindness could spark significant change. Malik's genuine warmth and commitment to service began to bridge the gaps between students of different backgrounds, forging friendships that once would have seemed impossible. Among those who found a friend in Malik was Alex, a bright student whose unconventional interest had made him a target of ridicule. Alex admired Malik for his quiet strength and learned that his own struggles were not unique. Their friendship grew steadily, and soon they organized study groups and social events that brought together students from all walks of life. Principal Stevens, a dedicated and forward-thinking leader, recognized their efforts and offered additional support for initiatives that promoted inclusivity. Under his guidance, the school began hosting regular sessions on cultural awareness and respect, setting an example for other institutions in the region. With the arrival of spring, Crestwood High blossomed into a place of renewed hope. Malik often found himself sitting under the shade of an ancient oak tree in the courtyard, contemplating the journey that had brought him from isolation to inspiration. He remembered his early days at the school, marked by uncertainty and fear, and marveled at how the once oppressive atmosphere was giving way to genuine camaraderie and understanding. Malik reflected on the faces of those who had suffered in silence and those who had risen to challenge injustice, knowing that every hardship had contributed to the community's healing. One day, while Malik was deep in thought beneath the oak tree, a new student approached him. Julian, a timid and reserved boy with nervous eyes, reminded Malik of his own early days at Crestwood High. Sensing the familiar uncertainty, Malik invited Julian to join him for lunch and listened patiently as Julian recounted his own experiences of feeling like an outsider. Over time, a strong bond formed between them, and Malik took it upon himself to mentor Julian. He shared his philosophy on standing up for oneself and explained that every person possessed unique strengths. Julian blossomed under Malik's gentle guidance, gradually discovering his own inner courage and resilience. The friendship between Malik and Julian became a living example of the positive transformation that had taken root at Crestwood High. Other students, inspired by their example, began to approach Malik for advice and support. His quiet heroism had become a beacon for those who had once felt powerless in the face of cruelty. In the final weeks of the school year, the administration organized a celebration to honor the progress that had been made in building a more inclusive community. During the event, students shared heartfelt stories of personal growth, and teachers offered glowing testimonials about the school's transformation. Malik was recognized not only for his academic achievements, but also for his role as a mentor and a champion of justice. The applause and admiration he received that day were a testament to the fact that a single act of courage could inspire change far beyond the confines of a classroom. In the days that followed the celebration, Malik often thought about the journey he had taken. He remembered the painful memories of the bullying he had endured and the fear that had once threatened to overwhelm him. Yet he also recalled the quiet strength that had enabled him to rise above that darkness. Every challenge had taught him a valuable lesson about the importance of compassion, perseverance, and the belief that every person deserved to be treated with dignity. News of Crestwood High's transformation soon spread throughout the town. Local newspapers ran articles praising the school for its commitment to inclusivity and respect. Community leaders organized public forums on bullying prevention, and Malik was frequently invited to speak at these events. With humility, he recounted his experiences and encouraged others to embrace empathy as a way to heal wounds and build bridges. Malik stressed that the true measure of strength was not in physical prowess, but in the ability to rise above hatred and prejudice. As the years passed, Malik's reputation grew. He went on to pursue higher education, majoring in social sciences and martial arts, determined to understand the complexities of human behavior and to advocate for justice wherever he could. In college, Malik organized workshops and led community projects, never forgetting the lessons he had learned at Crestwood High. His efforts earned him the admiration of many, and his story continued to serve as a source of inspiration for those who faced their own battles against injustice. Throughout his academic and professional journey, Malik returned often to his hometown. Each visit to Crestwood High filled him with a sense of pride and accomplishment. He would speak at graduation ceremonies, mentor new students, and listen to the stories of those who had been touched by his example. His legacy was not measured in medals or accolades, but in the transformed lives of countless young people who had found the strength to stand up for themselves. One day, as Malik returned to Crestwood High for a special alumni event, he encountered a familiar face from his past. Standing hesitantly in an empty corridor was Connor, the former bully whose actions had once defined Malik's early struggles. Now, Connor wore an expression of genuine remorse and vulnerability. With a steady voice, he said, "Malik, I have spent many years reflecting on my actions. I know now that what I did was wrong, and I am truly sorry for the pain I caused you." Malik regarded him with calm understanding and replied, "It takes great courage to admit mistakes. I appreciate your apology. I believe that our past can serve as a lesson for the future if we are willing to learn from it." In that quiet moment of reconciliation, the heavy burdens of the past began to lift, replaced by the possibility of a more compassionate future. Malik's journey taught him that true strength lay not in the ability to inflict pain, but in the resolve to overcome adversity with dignity. His scars, both seen and unseen, were a reminder of the struggles he had endured, yet they also symbolized the resilience of the human spirit. Every challenge he faced, every act of defiance in the face of injustice, contributed to a legacy that would inspire generations to come. As the sun set on another day in Crestwood, Malik sat by the window of his family home, gazing out at the familiar skyline of the town that had once seemed so unyielding. In the soft glow of the evening light, he allowed his thoughts to wander over the long and winding path that had brought him from isolation to inspiration. He remembered the voices of those who had cheered him on and the lessons learned from those who had once doubted him. And in that reflective quiet, Malik felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for the strength that had carried him through the darkest of times. Malik's story is not one of revenge or bitterness, but of hope and redemption. It is a testament to the fact that when one stands up for what is right, even in the face of overwhelming adversity, the ripple effects of that courage can change not only one life, but an entire community. His journey showed that every individual, regardless of their background or circumstances, possesses the power to make a difference. Through compassion, determination, and a steadfast belief in justice, Malik transformed not only his own life, but also the lives of those around him. Today, as Crestwood High continues to nurture an environment of inclusivity and respect, the legacy of Malik's courage lives on. His story remains a beacon of hope, reminding all who hear it that the strength of the human spirit can overcome even the most entrenched forms of cruelty. His message is simple yet profound. Every person deserves to be seen, heard, and respected, and the power to effect change lies within each of us. Malik's journey stands as a timeless reminder that no matter how difficult the road may be, the strength to overcome adversity lies within each of us. Through compassion, perseverance, and a willingness to embrace change, even the smallest voice can rise above the noise of hatred and injustice, creating a legacy of hope that will shine for generations to come. In every whispered conversation in the hallways of Crestwood High, in every supportive gesture between students, and in every act of kindness that now defines the community, Malik's quiet revolution endures. His legacy is not confined to the pages of history, but lives on in the hearts of all who believe that respect and unity are the true measures of strength. As the years move forward and new challenges arise, the memory of Malik's stand will serve as a guidepost for all who seek a more just and compassionate world. His story is a call to action, urging each person to look beyond superficial differences and to recognize the inherent worth in every human being. And so, as the gentle light of a new dawn bathes Crestwood in its warm glow, the spirit of Malik continues to inspire, reminding us all that true power lies not in the ability to harm, but in the courage to protect, uplift, and empower.